Somewhere in the dense, humid heart of Samar Island in the Philippines, there is a city that does not exist on any map. No road leads to it. No satellite has officially confirmed it. And yet, for decades, ordinary people, fishermen returning home at night, students on holiday breaks, merchants traveling rural roads, have claimed to see its lights blazing on the horizon, towering above the trees like a metropolis that has no right to be there. Some of them never came back. The story of Biringan City is not a fairy tale passed down to frighten children into sleeping early. It is something far stranger than that. It is a legend built quietly from the testimonies of adults, farmers, seafarers, engineers, and professors who describe the same city in the same extraordinary detail without ever having met each other. And the most unsettling part is not what they say they saw. It is the ones who went in and never returned to tell anyone anything at all. Samar is the third largest island in the Philippine archipelago, a province often overlooked by the tourism brochures that favor Palawan's turquoise coves and Boracay's white sand beaches. It is a place of dense rainforests, ancient rivers, and communities that have maintained deep animist beliefs long beneath the surface of Catholic practice that the Spanish brought in the 16th century. Here, belief in the spirit world is not a relic of superstition. It is woven into the fabric of how people understand illness, misfortune, and death. And it is here, somewhere between the municipalities of Gandara, Pagsanghan, and Tarangnan, that Biringan is said to exist. The word itself comes from the Waray language spoken across Samar and Leyte. Biringan translates loosely to hanapan ng mga nawawala, the place where the lost are found. That translation alone should give anyone pause, because it suggests that going missing is not necessarily an accident. It suggests a destination, a place actively collecting people, a city that selects, invites, and receives. According to generations of local oral tradition, Biringan does not reveal itself to everyone. It chooses who sees it, and far more critically, it chooses who stays. Descriptions of the city are strikingly consistent across different accounts gathered from different decades and different communities. Biringan is not described as a ruined ancient settlement, not a crumbling jungle temple hidden under vines. It is described as modern, aggressively, impossibly modern. Fishermen who claim to have spotted it from the water at night say they saw a skyline of tall black structures rising from the tree line, gleaming with lights in colors they struggle to name. Those who say they entered describe roads smooth and vast, vehicles unlike anything manufactured on Earth, buildings of jet-black architecture tapering into spires rather than the rectangular blocks of contemporary construction. The technology, witnesses claim, is not just advanced, it is beyond what any nation on the planet currently possesses. Academics who have studied the legend point to the fact that this consistency across testimonies is what makes Biringan so persistently compelling. A history and anthropology professor at Samar State University once explained to journalists that the legend's architecture, its specific recurring details, reflect something real about the community's psyche. A people living in an underdeveloped region with poor infrastructure and limited economic opportunity might, in their collective dreaming, construct a vision of what development could look like if it existed for them. The dazzling black city becomes a mirror, a yearning shaped into mythology. But that explanation does not account for the ones who vanished. The disappearances attached to Biringan are where the legend crosses from folklore into something that demands a harder look. Stories describe engkantos, supernatural beings deeply rooted in pre-colonial Filipino spiritual belief, as the inhabitants of Biringan. In their human form, engkantos are said to be impossibly beautiful, fair-skinned, and composed with an eerie stillness. They are identified by one singular physical marker that folklore insists upon across every account: the absence of a philtrum, that small vertical groove between the nose and the upper lip. Look at a stranger's face near the borders of Gandara or Pagsanghan, local elders will tell you, and count to 4. If that groove is missing, do not speak to them. Do not accept anything they offer you. The rules around Biringan are specific, and they have survived intact through oral tradition for decades. If you find yourself inside the city, you must not eat or drink anything presented to you. Not the black rice, not the water, not the fruit. Because accepting food or drink inside Biringan is the act that seals you there permanently. It is a motif that echoes across mythologies worldwide, from Persephone eating pomegranate seeds in the Greek underworld to the fairy food warnings of Celtic legend. But in Samar, this warning is not considered myth. It is considered instruction. One of the most documented and widely circulated accounts attached to Biringan involves a young woman named Carolina. She traveled to Samar in the company of 2 friends for a short vacation. When the trip was over and her friends returned to Manila, Carolina did not come with them. Days passed. Her family in Manila grew frantic. Then a letter arrived. Carolina wrote that she was fine, that she was happy, and that she was staying in Samar. The address written on the envelope was Biringan City. Her family never saw her again. In the communities near the rivers that border the alleged location of the city, some people claim she has been seen near the water, not aging, not distressed, simply watching from a distance before turning and disappearing into the trees. The legend grew considerably during the late 1980s when a Japanese corporation reportedly became interested in conducting development work in western Samar. Locals were puzzled because the region in question was considered undeveloped, with little infrastructure to attract foreign investment. The rumor that circulated afterward was that the Japanese company possessed a satellite-generated map showing an anomalous concentration of light, the size and density of a major metropolitan area emanating from the forest region between Gandara and Pagsanghan. No one knew what they were looking for exactly, or what they found. What people in the area agreed on was that the Japanese packed their equipment and left without explanation, having accomplished nothing. The satellite image has never been produced publicly. There is an older account that dates to the 1960s that is perhaps even more quietly unsettling because of its bureaucratic nature. A shipment of expensive construction equipment arrived at the port of Tacloban, the nearest major port to the Samar interior, imported from the United States. The machinery was addressed to a company located at Biringan City, Samar. Port officials were baffled. No such municipality existed in any official registry. The shipment sat in customs. No representative came to claim it. The company listed as recipient could not be traced. The address led nowhere on any government map. And yet someone had imported the equipment. Someone had paid for it. Someone had expected it to arrive. 7 portals are said to exist across the provinces of Samar. 7 different entry points through which a person, knowingly or otherwise, might cross into Biringan. One of the most spoken about portals is said to be located at an ancient tree on the grounds of Northwest Samar State University in Calbayog City. Another is described as a stretch of river between Gandara and Pagsanghan, where to this day, boat passengers traveling through at night are advised to remain completely silent. No talking, no singing, no laughing. Just the sound of the water and the engine, and eyes kept forward.
Locals who grew up near that river say the instruction was never explained to them as superstition. It was delivered as safety procedure. Among the most remarkable modern accounts of Biringan are those that emerged when internet access reached Samar and expanded outward into Philippine national discourse. Forum threads and social media posts about the city drew responses from users who claimed to be residents, not visitors, not witnesses from a distance, but actual inhabitants of Biringan City, commenting on public posts as casually as anyone would comment on an article about their hometown. These commenters described daily life inside the city in matter-of-fact terms, mentioned neighbors, local routines, and places of interest. When other users tried to engage them further, the accounts went silent or disappeared entirely. Whether these were elaborate performances of online mythology or something stranger, no one could determine with certainty.
The engkantos of Biringan are also said to enter the human world for reasons that are disturbingly ordinary. They fall in love. They conduct business. They hire workers. Multiple testimonies describe encounters with individuals, well-dressed, soft-spoken, almost preternaturally calm, who offered contracts or employment to locals. The deals were always generous to the point of being implausible. High wages for simple work, promises of wealth for short-term agreements. Those who entered these arrangements, according to the accounts that circulate in Samar, would return home changed, quieter, more distant. Some would fall ill with no diagnosable condition. Some would stop appearing in public altogether, their families offering explanations that never quite held together.
A 2025 academic paper published in the International Journal of Language and Literary Studies examined the Biringan folktale through direct interviews with residents aged 50 and above who lived near the alleged portal areas. The research identified 4 consistent thematic pillars in how locals understand and describe the city. First, Biringan is described as a perfect dwelling place, wealthy, technologically advanced, and physically beautiful. Second, it operates through deception, luring people through irresistible offers that reveal their true cost only once accepted. Third, it is attributed with a protective function, with some communities crediting Biringan's presence with keeping harm away. One community claimed it experienced 0 casualties during a major outbreak because of the city's invisible guardianship. Fourth, and perhaps most striking, Biringan is associated with healing. Locals describe individuals brought to the city who returned cured of illnesses that conventional medicine could not touch.
Filipino pilots have added a layer to the account that is harder to dismiss with cultural context alone. Aviation personnel have reportedly described seeing unexpected light concentrations and structural outlines in airspace above the Samar interior region. Buildings and formations visible for a matter of seconds before they vanish from both sight and instrument readings. GPS anomalies in the region have also been documented across different periods, with navigation systems registering coordinates that correspond to a dense inhabited area before resetting without explanation. Researchers and explorers who have traveled to those coordinates found only dense forest, but their equipment frequently malfunctioned during those visits in ways they could not replicate elsewhere.
What makes Biringan so compelling as a phenomenon, beyond its internal mythology, is that it refuses to remain contained within the Philippines. The legend has been picked up by researchers and paranormal investigators from multiple countries who compare it with similar accounts from other cultures. The hidden city of Agartha, said to exist beneath Central Asia, the vanishing island of High Brazil from Irish maritime lore, the invisible kingdom of Shambhala, described in Tibetan Buddhist tradition. In each of these cases, a civilization exists parallel to our own, advanced beyond human current capacity, accessible only under specific and often dangerous conditions. Biringan belongs to this global family of hidden worlds. Its specificity, its location, its consistent physical description, its named portals, is what sets it apart from vague mysticism and places it in a category that even skeptics find difficult to fully dismiss. The 2009 Filipino horror film T2, directed by Chito Ronyo, who himself was born in Calbayog, Samar, drew directly from the Biringan mythology and brought the legend to mainstream Filipino audiences who had not grown up hearing the stories from their grandparents. The film sparked a new generation of interest and prompted thousands of Filipinos to begin searching for information about the legend online, only to discover that the accounts they found were older than they expected and more consistent than folklore usually tends to be. Biringan was not the product of one creative mind or one viral post. It had been accumulating for over 60 years before cinema gave it a face.
Standing in the muddy market square of Gandara on any ordinary afternoon, surrounded by vendors selling dried fish and mobile phone accessories, it is possible to feel that the story of Biringan is simply part of the local atmosphere, a regional curiosity that colors the identity of a place without necessarily demanding belief. But then the sun starts going down. The vendors pack up early. The road toward Pagsanghan empties out faster than it should for the hour, and the old woman behind the rice stall, who has not looked up once during the day, will lift her eyes just as the light fails and say, without being asked, that you should not be on the road between the towns after dark. Not tonight, not any night. When you ask why, she looks at you with something that is not quite pity and not quite warning, and she says only, they are very beautiful, and they are always watching, and they do not always mean to take you, but sometimes they simply cannot help themselves.
The city of Biringan, if it exists, has never harmed anyone who stayed away. Every account of suffering, of disappearance, of inexplicable illness is attached to an encounter, an invitation accepted, a deal agreed to, food eaten in a place where food should not have been trusted. The lesson embedded in the legend is consistent and ancient. Not everything beautiful is safe. Not every city of lights is one you are meant to enter. And in the forests of Samar, where the old trees are older than the nation itself, the wisest thing anyone has ever done might simply be to keep walking and not look toward the place where no lights should be shining.